Hi guys, this is Shakti from Around the Wicket, where we not only speak about the game, but we try to learn more about the humans behind our sport. It has been a long time since we've had our last interview, but I'm very, very privileged to be able to kick off 2021 with the ICC Associate Female Cricketer of the Decade in Kathryn Bryce. She is the captain of the Scotland Women's National Team, and today we will talk to Kathryn about her individual ambitions as well as the team ambitions moving forward, try and know a little bit more about herself and what makes her an impressive cricketer. Kathryn, thank you so much for joining me.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Now, many wouldn't know that you made your international debut at the age of 13, and at 23 already have 10 years of international exposure under your name. Tell us about when it all started for you, and especially in a country like Scotland where cricket is possibly not the most popular of sports. How has this journey been?
Yeah, I was lucky enough that the school that I was at had a girls' cricket team already. So when I was about 9 years old, 8 or 9, there was kind of like a letter that went out asking if anyone wanted to go along and try out cricket. So I just went along to that. We'd always watched it at home, kind of watched every sport, like thrown balls around the place, hit balls, played tennis, like hockey, golf, everything like that really. So quite a sporty family anyway. So just went along, started playing cricket, really enjoyed it, and yeah, I was part of the team from then on. And then when I was 13, just kind of got invited along that season to start playing for the Scotland under-17s, and then was fortunate enough, or unfortunate for someone, that they actually had a game in Scotland, and they had a couple of matches over a weekend, and one of the girls broke their thumb in like the day before, so I just got a call asking if I could come along, and I thought it might be 12th man or something in the next day, but ended up playing, and I think it took a couple of wickets as well, so that was just really exciting to kind of just thrown straight in there. So yeah, just a great way to start, I think.
Awesome. Before we talk about Scotland and the national team, obviously, you went to George Watson College in Edinburgh. You were the first girl to play in the boys' first 11. Do you recollect any of those memories, and what was your experiences like during that time?
Yeah, I was really lucky at school. The school was so supportive of us playing cricket, and that's kind of how I started playing with the boys in about S2, so I would have been probably about 13, 14 again. Instead of playing tennis in the summer, they asked if I wanted to join in with the boys cricket team. So yeah, I did that and started playing with them then, and yeah, they were so accepting of me playing and never really batted an eyelid really. So I think they were quite used to playing with me, and I'd had a great time just kind of playing more cricket and everything like that. So yeah, when I got to play for the first 11, it was really exciting. Didn't really realise at the time that I was the first girl to play. So yeah, no, it was brilliant.
Wonderful. Yeah. Scotland under-17s, obviously you spent 5 years with them, 4 years as the captain. This is where your leadership qualities, I guess, came to the fore. There was one specific moment as well where you had a partnership with your sister Sarah. Like you said, everyone's involved in sports in your family, but with your sister Sarah, you put on a partnership of 336. Yourself made 173 against Lincolnshire. Tell us about those days of Scotland under-17, and what was the best thing about those years that you are trying to implement with the national team?
Yeah, I think when you're an under-17 team, especially with us being from Scotland, we played all of our games in England, so I think when you're that age, you just have a great time, sitting on a bus for 6 hours, driving down south and playing cricket. I think it's great fun to just kind of get away and feel like a mini tour really, even though you're not going that far. But yeah, I think that was probably really important for me, kind of getting used to captaining a team. I think it's quite different when you're that age. You've got so many other things to think about when bowlers have minimal overs they can bowl in a spell and things like that, so at times it's probably more challenging, But I think, yeah, that was really valuable, and to have my sister around and a few other strong players to play with, and just kind of enjoy captaining the team, and just learning as much as possible. I think that was really valuable going forward.
Yep, and a couple of years ago, you took up the captaincy of the Scotland women's national team, obviously taking over the wonderful Abby Aitken, who was the captain for about 8 years. Tell us about this moment, what it means to you, to have the opportunity to captain the national team, and what did you learn from Abby as well?
Yeah, it was a real honour to kind of take it over, and I was lucky enough that Abby is still playing at the time when I took it, and she's still playing now. So to have someone with that experience still in your team, I think it's really valuable. And I think if sometimes when you get the captaincy and the other captains kind of moved on, you maybe left there a little bit on your own. But I think what I learned from her is just kind of valuing everyone, and making sure everyone kind of feels listened to, and kind of giving them the chance to feel welcome to kind of come up and talk to you about anything at any time. And yeah, I think it's really, really important to have her there. And she probably took the captaincy on pretty young as well, so knew what it was like to be young and kind of taking over that role and learning as much as possible. So she was brilliant to have around.
Now you've also had some WBBL exposure, I guess, being part of the Melbourne Stars in their associate rookie program. Tell us about that moment. Obviously, you shared some time with the current Australian captain in Meg Lanning. How was your interaction with her, and what was your experience like with the team?
Yeah, it was fantastic to be able to get out there. Just knowing that you can go away to Australia for a couple of weeks. Yeah, it was great fun. I'd been in Adelaide the year before for a few months, and yeah, just going out and being part of a professional setup, just being able to experience a team, kind of one of the best teams in the middle of a big competition, was brilliant. And yeah, I just learned a lot from looking at her and how she kind of went around her business. And I think when you're in that sort of environment, you see, like, sometimes you watch on TV and you see the best players scoring runs and taking wickets and make it look so easy, but actually you see that they have to go to training every day, and they're working harder than anyone else actually, and they put in the hard yards, and that's kind of how they've got there in the end.
Now, you and Sarah both have had really successful stints, I guess, in the Rachel Heyhoe Flint competition in England, and on the back of that, both of you have been awarded full-time contracts. In the process, being the first two players to be given full-time contracts from an associate nation team. Reflecting back on this, how satisfying is it to know that your efforts on the field are being rewarded, and what does it mean to young girls that are taking up the sport, I guess, from associate nation with your achievement?
Yeah, I think it kind of shows a bit of a pathway. Probably when we were younger, if making cricket a career wasn't necessarily always going to be a possibility, unless you're playing for one of the big nations, such as like England or Australia or anything like that. So actually, for those girls to see that cricket is a possibility to kind of make a career out of, hopefully that'll kind of inspire them and want to give it a go. And yeah, I think the more exposure you can kind of make for the women's game, hopefully people will take it up and enjoy it, and they might not make it a career, but if they've taken it up because they want to just give it a go, and yeah, I think that's really important, and yeah, lucky to be able to do that.
And what does it mean to you, I guess, obviously, to receive a full-time contract? Obviously, adds a lot of security as well in terms of the future, even though there's, the world is going through a pandemic, and, there's frustrations associated with it. But, what does it mean to you to have at least some, sort of solidarity, I guess, with your career path?
Yeah, it's incredible to be able to have this opportunity. I think knowing that I'm able to focus on cricket and not worry about having a job on the side of it, and also trying to train pretty much professionally, but without it being professional. I think it means you can focus on it a lot more, and hopefully just be able to put a lot more into it, and yeah, to be able to have that opportunity and maybe do a bit more traveling with it, and hopefully kind of raise the awareness of of the players that we've got in Scotland as well, and give more opportunities for some of the other girls there.
Now, at the start of the interview, I said that you were awarded the ICC Women's Associate Cricketer of the Decade Award. How exciting is it, firstly, to receive such an award, and what does it mean to you and your family, I guess?
Yeah, it's amazing, really. I don't think it's anything that you ever really think about, and maybe there's like the Players of the Year and things like that, but of the decade, when it first came up, it was on Twitter, and it wasn't actually through the ICC that it first kind of popped up. So it means that we weren't really sure whether it was actually a real thing or whether someone had just made it up. So yeah, when it finally came through, I think it was just a real honour to have been thought of for that sort of award. And because we're both quite young as well, you don't really necessarily think of yourself being around for that long.
Exactly.
But it's just incredible. And I think with like 3 of the men getting nominated as well, I think it's just shown how much Cricket Scotland has kind of developed over the last 10 years as well, and hopefully continue to do so here for the next decade as well, hopefully.
Yeah, massive congratulations at the age of 23 to achieve such an accolade. It is very impressive. We were talking about, obviously, COVID, the lockdown can be frustrating at times, especially in Europe, obviously going through much more tougher, I guess, restrictions. But tell us about the situation there. You stated that you were in a bubble, and there are plans accordingly. How have you been spending your time?
Yeah, at the start of lockdown, we went home, so it was just the 4 of us at home pretty much, and trying to play a little bit of cricket in the garden, doing a few catches, but home workouts and things like that, and keeping up with the teams kind of over Zoom, doing some like yoga mobility sessions. It kind of gave a bit of an opportunity. We did some more like tactical stuff with the Scotland team that you wouldn't necessarily have the chance to do if you're in a full playing season. Like, you don't always have the time, so that was quite valuable. But I think we're really lucky to get out over the summer and get some games in, and now back into lockdown in England, but luckily Sarah and I in Loughborough, with the elite sport guidelines, we're still able to train in smaller bubbles of about 6 of us kind of staying together. So yeah, to still be able to do that, I think we know how lucky we are to still have those opportunities.
Wonderful. And moving forward for you, Kathryn, what's your, I guess, visions and ambitions individually as well as for the national team?
I think for the team, to get to a World Cup would be incredible. I think that'd be a massive step for the game and kind of just raising the profile of it. I think, like we've seen with the Thailand girls kind of getting to a World Cup, and then a couple of their players getting selected to play in the women's IPL. I think just being able to perform at the top level, and I think when you've done it in a World Cup, teams start to notice you, and people start to notice you a bit better, and kind of probably regard your performances slightly higher as well. So I think that would be a massive thing. There's also the Commonwealth Games coming up next year, so the qualifiers for that, and I think qualifying for something like that would kind of maybe reach a different audience that probably haven't watched cricket before, because a lot of people tune in and watch loads of different sports that they would never usually sit down to watch. So I think if we got to Commonwealth Games as well, that would be a big boost for cricket.
Which is a good segue. The first point that you've stated in terms of trying to make the World Cup. I guess one thing is how close are you as a team, to make an event such as the World Cup, and also with all the associate cricketers that I've had on around the wicket. Generally, I ask, in terms of the development and progress, what has the sports bodies in the country, and what does the ICC need to do in terms of improving, I guess, the exposure and facilities provided for associate nation cricketers to consistently, I guess, challenge the established teams.
Yeah, I think we're fairly close. The last few global qualifiers was finished kind of 3rd or 4th, So I think we've always just been that one step behind, whether it's the consistency in the games that we've played, or whether it's not quite being good enough to get over the line against the Bangladesh, for example. We've just always been that one step off. And I guess the next part of your question, in like what they can do, I think playing each other more regularly in higher quality fixtures, I think, is so important. Being able to have those high standard matches so that players can actually learn consistently to be able to perform against the toughest opposition, so that when it comes to it, you're less likely to have that one-off bad performance, or those bad performances come less often because you've just, as a team, had more opportunity at the higher level. And I think if some way that there can be more international cricket around the world against all the different teams, not just the ones that are next to you, and playing them, I think that'll massively boost the standard of the sport.
Yeah, 100%. We had the Thai girls, not too far back, and we saw how much the world loved seeing, fresh new faces, the energy and laughter that they bring to the game. And all the best to you and Scotland as well. And hopefully the ICC, can provide more pathways and more games for the teams to get better. I guess one final question, Kathryn, is before we do the rapid fire round, is away from cricket, you are studying at the moment. You've got the sports and exercise science course. Is it still going forward, or is it on the back burner with your full-time cricket?
Yeah, still going forward at the moment. So I split my last year in two, so you kind of do half of it last year and half of it this year. It's all online at the moment, so it's slightly different. But I think I've probably been lucky enough to get the main part of it done and had kind of the start of the uni experience and everything. And it's just these last couple of years that have been changed slightly. There was a little bit of in-person teaching at the start of the term last year, but now it's all online and exams are all online, so it's a bit of a different way of having to kind of manage when you do your lectures, and also preparing for exams that are online is slightly different as well than having to learn it all to go and sit in an exam hall. But I think the uni have been fantastic at kind of putting together ways of trying to combat it, and it's always going to be really challenging. It's not going to be the same as going in, but I think the uni have done a really good job of keeping it all going. So fingers crossed I'll be done this year. Just got to write my dissertation now.
All the best. I think people underestimate, in terms of, even with the globalization of cricket, that a lot of the cricketers, especially in the female game, have to have a second, I guess, career to try and, support their cricket. So all the best to you, and, fingers crossed you get through very, very quickly. Now I've got some rapid fire questions, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
First question is, what is your favorite pastime away from cricket?
Probably music. So play the violin and clarinet. So playing in the orchestra at school. I really enjoy that.
And your sister does as well? Is it your sister's also involved in music?
Plays piano and viola. So
wow, nice. Very talented. Very talented. Second question is, who's your current favorite cricketer?
Sophie Devine.
Yeah, explosive Sophie Devine from New Zealand. Any sports person that you would like to meet in person?
Usain Bolt would be pretty cool.
Yep. Question number 4 is, what do you feel is more satisfying, scoring a century or taking 5 wickets?
Probably scoring a century, but taking 5 wickets is also very good. It's rapid to answer. Scoring a century.
Just by a little bit. Yep, no problems. Toughest opponent you have faced on the cricket pitch?
Probably Kathryn Bryce. She just is such a brilliant competitor. Yeah.
Yep. Very intense as well, Kathryn Bryce. Question number 6. Who do you feel is the most complete women's cricketer currently?
I reckon Nat Siver. Just everything, bowling, batting, fielding.
Very impressive. She played for the Stars as well in the WPL.
Yeah, she was there when I was there as well, actually. So it's not a little bit.
Question number 7 is what is Kathryn Bryce's guilty pleasure?
Probably watch a lot of Grey's Anatomy.
Wow.
Too many times.
Very different. Question number 8 is what is one thing that you would like to achieve in your bucket list?
Probably traveling. I've not decided where to, but probably after cricket and everything, just like taking a block of time and traveling to lots of different places, further around in the world.
Yep, have a little bit of fun away from the competitiveness. And question number 9, best place you have played cricket at?
Probably Adelaide Oval.
You know what? It's not surprising because everyone that I have on Around the Wicket, everyone says Adelaide Oval. It's just a beautiful ground. Thank you, Kathryn. Thank you so much for joining me on Around the Wicket. Firstly, congratulations on the recent accolades. All the best for your cricket, and hopefully we can see Scotland, play more international tournaments, major international tournaments. All the best for this year, and stay safe.
Thanks very much.